Hello, hello, everybody. I'm so excited about my guest today.
Thank you.
I get to turn the tables.
Yes, you do.
Miss Angie Humphrey. So I am Carla Webb, Christian life coach, and this is If You Only Knew, my Facebook live show. So I get to be the host, and she is my guest, and I'm so excited about it. All right, so introduce yourself in case you live under a rock and you do not know who this lady is. I can't imagine. This is Angie Humphrey, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, where's Sean again? I am the host of the show for Channel 25 called Local Lifestyles. That's live every weekday from 11 to 12. So, I moved it together over here today. I'm also the founder and pastor of a wonderful congregation of opening and welcoming and affirming people called Fresh Air Community of Faith. And we meet on Thursday nights, and which makes it nice because then we can work with other congregations on Sunday morning, and just a loving, welcoming, laid-back group of people making their faith journeys and all kinds of different journeys.
Well, and that's how I first got introduced to you, was you speaking at my church. And I was trying to think about how, I would say it's been around 20
I would say, because I was in
ago.
seminary when this was at Friendship Church in Linville.
Yeah.
So I was in seminary and I graduated in 2003.
Yeah.
So that's about right.
Yeah, around 20 years ago. And, that was very impactful to me, and you've been my mentor from afar and now up close over these years, because that growing up General Baptist, I would say, I was trying to think, and I think that you were the first woman that I ever saw speak from the pulpit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and I had that experience probably in several other places too, in our communities around us, and it was interesting. I've had almost always welcoming experiences, but I've had people at the end, you're supposed to stand at the door and everybody tells you how wonderful you are and whatever. And you can see the people that were just not gonna go there, and they make a wide circle. But most people were welcoming to say, I've never heard a woman minister before. I really liked it, but I really loved it when young girls would come and say thank you. And that was something, because it's important that I didn't see women in leadership roles either.
That was very impactful. That was very impactful for me to be able to see that. And then you also came to our church and did some women's retreats.
I did.
So that was, I just, like I said, from afar, you've been a mentor for quite a long time, and I'm happy to have you look up a little closer now.
Me too. We're real close now.
This is great. So the questions that I have. So you know my history. I've been on your show talking about the work that I do with domestic violence awareness and advocacy, and helping women in particular create healthy relationships. And one of my aha moments was sitting there thinking, I was in, this was even before I got married and was in, really in the relationship. And I remember there being an incident, and I thought to myself, Carla, if you were your own best friend, you would tell yourself to get out. And so that whole idea of, if you could be your own best friend in regards to relationships, what would you go back and tell your younger self?
Don't do it.
Hey guys, your husband's on here right now, so George, she doesn't mean it.
It's not you.
She's talking about other people.
Yes. And Carl and I both share that bit of history of being in really violent and terrible relationships. And so, of course, here we are, and not just survivors, but we've thrived and we've flourished based on that. So I would say, if you're going to be in this relationship, then make sure that you're learning something as you go. But if I think it's Maya Angelou who said, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yes.
And
I say that a lot.
Quit trying to believe, well, if I just keep throwing all of this good love, all this positivity into this black hole, it will stop sucking all the light in, and to finally realize you didn't break this person.
Right.
And you are not going to fix them.
It's not your job to fix them.
It's not your job to fix them. So let's work on you, get yourself to higher ground, yourself and your children to higher ground.
Yes.
And you need to interview my children to talk about the pain and the hurt and the struggles that they have because of being in that negative environment and watching their mother think, okay, now this is so, keep on doing this, keep on shoveling,
Mhm.
because in this pile of manure, there's got to be a pony somewhere. And there wasn't one. And so to finally realize, my daddy was so wise, and he said, every problem, every situation deserves a certain amount of attention.
Mhm.
And after that, it doesn't deserve any more.
Yeah.
And if I had heeded that advice
Mhm.
early on, I would have saved myself and my children
Yeah.
so much. But just see people for as they are. A person is not supposed to complete you, whatever Jerry Maguire says in the
Mhm.
movie. That's not the point.
Yeah.
And I knew that, Carla.
Yeah. I did too.
I knew it.
Mhm.
But, it's this idea of this sweeping romance and all these other things that you tell yourself, just because you want it to be true doesn't mean it is.
Right.
Or that it will ever be true. And as I look back over all the many years and being in a wonderful marriage, thank you, George Relier, a happy home where there's peace and connection and all the things we dream about, and looking back at that, realizing that he was so damaged himself, and he wasn't working on those things
Mhm.
that made the relationship so incendiary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and we're in unique positions also, so I would really love for you to address this question. I was in this abusive relationship and in a Christian marriage and in ministry,
Right.
all at the same time. And I know that you found yourself in that position. So I would say that my faith kept me in the abusive relationship longer than what I probably would have stayed in it. And maybe, I don't know if you can relate to that or whether that was, part of your story.
It is, but for a different reason, because I wasn't directly working in ministry, but very involved in my church at that time. And it was really my pastor who said these words to me that were almost chilling. I had gone into him to talk again about this relationship and what a nightmare it was, and everybody in the church knew what was going on. And I was just saying, I don't want to fail. I don't want to, if you hang in there, your good love is going to change all this. He's just listening so patiently. And I said, I don't want to divorce. And he said, Angie, you've been divorced as long as I've known you. You just didn't know it. And I went, wow.
Yeah.
That was so, because we weren't in a relationship.
Yeah.
Where you're relating and give and take and all. We weren't in that, and everybody else could see it.
Yeah. Wow. That is powerful.
It was powerful. And of course, it took me 6 more years beyond that powerful moment. But yes, and then you do put on the happy Christian face, and everything's fine, and I'm fine, and we're all fine, but we weren't fine.
No, I understand.
I know you do.
That was powerful. I hope someone out there got that.
Yeah.
That you've been divorced for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, and another lady in ministry that I follow that has gone through a divorce, she said she just kept clinging and like, Lord, save my marriage, Lord, save my marriage. And she said, finally, I felt the Lord say, you know what? You never asked me about getting into this marriage. You never asked me about that. So as far as you made this decision, and now you're asking me to save it and fix it whenever you weren't even supposed to be in it in the first place. And I kind of,
And there's enough, I think we confuse the working on your marriage part with staying in an abusive and dangerous relationship.
Right.
That's just dumb to stay in an abusive and dangerous relationship. It's self-destructive, as we both know, and if you're out there in that relationship, too. Yeah. It's a different thing if you both have different ideas about how to spend money. Right. Or how do you celebrate Christmas? Or did you remember the anniversary of our first date? That sort of thing. Not to trivialize those things because they're important for the communication in your relationship. But if you're in a dangerous relationship, find someplace to get the high ground because it's not going to get better. Yes. And not that people who are abusive can't get better, but it takes a lot of therapy. It's a hard thing to overcome.
And they have to want it for themselves. You can't want it enough for both of them.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. Next question then. On this spiritual journey that you've been on over the years, what is a truth that you feel God has revealed to you about yourself? Well,
probably lots of them. I'm trying to isolate just one, but this has been I'd say a developing truth, Carla, and you will appreciate this as having lived in industry. When you live in a religious environment where you have all the answers.
Mm.
And everything's figured out. These are the beliefs and the doctrines and the behaviors, and this is what you do. This is how you pray. This is what you sing. This is when you sing it. All of those things that kind of happen in churchianity is you have this false sense of assurance that you're absolutely right in the right place, and all the people around you are right about the Bible and Jesus and prayer and whatever miracles, you name it. And then, to begin to sit with your questions and take them seriously, and get tired of people smacking you down because you ask too many questions and you have too many different perspectives. And that is the truth that I see, is that surety is big. If sin is a good word, if surety is a sin, it's an arrogance, because faith life is dynamic and it's ever changing, and how we understand sacred text, how we understand where doctrine and idea, not that they're bad, not that traditions are bad, but you need to know what they are. You need to know where they came from and why it resonates or doesn't with you.
Yeah.
And then set yourself free. So I think it's the message from God saying, I set you free. Are you forgetting it?
Yeah.
I set you free. Come, if you look at the traditions of the first religious people, the scholars, the rabbis, they argue all the time about ideas. They debate, they discuss, and it's not like, this is it, that's all you have to believe, come back next weekend. And so when you're freed from that, you move from this place you thought you were firmly planted into this wonderful wild garden that grows with new ideas, new experiences, and wonderful new people. And it exhales. Because you don't have to worry about always doing it right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The doing it right. That, yes. And it is a constant conversation that, and God shows you different things when you're ready to receive it also. And so whenever you are able to have those conversations, and I think maybe you can relate to this also, a lot of people, and especially people of faith, go to college and then they have a crisis of faith.
Sure.
My uncle was a professor and a minister also, and he said, if you go on through seminary and at some point haven't lost your religion, then it's like, because it is, you grow up being taught that this is the way it is in the story, and then you have conversations with people that aren't of the same faith of you or the same denomination, and they're just as sure as way they believe as what you believe, and then you study the sacred text, and you're like, okay, well, this is the context that we can get into a lot of it, but it is it's really good to have those challenging conversations.
You bet it is.
And to know why you believe what you believe.
Right. And that I always tell my congregation that this is where my ship is sailing right now. It's not going to pull into a dock, because as I sail on, I learn from these people, I learn from these people, I jettison ideas that are no longer relevant to my life. And always the star that guides us is the love of God, and so that's not what's changed, because that's ever coming.
Yes.
Now what I do with it is a different thing, but that doesn't stop. I don't have to prove to God that I'm worthy of that love or any of that other stuff, and to keep on growing and experiencing and delving into what we call our sacred text. When I was in my second year of seminary, I was just furious because I had been introduced to all this new material outside the Bible, other perspectives, and Greek and Hebrew, and you see it in as best you can in its native tongue, and lots of things are quite different and change of perspective. So I'm just ranting and raving at my professor, and he's just smiling in his Mr. Spock from Star Trek smile, and he said, Angie, hold on. You have to deconstruct to reconstruct. So now the building begins. Yeah. And so in seminary, I lost my religion, but I found my faith.
Ooh, yeah.
And
say that again.
I lost my religion, but I found my faith. And it's not a thing. It's just, as I said, ever revealing experience of how wide and high and mysterious and filled with mercy, love, and grace is God's love for all of us, and that is not supposed to look the same for Carla and
Mhm.
Angie and Stacy and Amy and
Mhm.
and George. And we're supposed to celebrate those differences.
Yeah.
That's what you do with this podcast. You're
Mhm.
celebrating this. You're asking the same question, but you're celebrating the people's experience of how they came through whatever it is. And those stories are powerful. They reach into us where we live and go, I needed to hear that.
And that's why we call it a personal relationship with Christ.
Right.
That's why because it's personal. Wasn't she fabulous? Yes.
Thank
yes.
You. Thank you for asking me.
Love you so much. Thank you.
And thank all of you for tuning in.
Yes, thank you for tuning in, and just thank you for all that you do for our community and the love that you share and the work that you do at Fresh Air. And so if you're not busy on a Thursday night, come
see us, 6:30.
Yeah.
You'll be happy to.
I'm sure you'll be truly blessed. So thank you for getting over the bridge as fast as you could.
I busted a move, didn't I?
She got off the show and straight here, and I appreciate it. And so thank you all for tuning in. Every Monday at 12:30, I will be right here with at my next amazing guest, one after the other. And I appreciate your love and support. And if you are wanting to show support and love to this weekly, If You Only Knew, it would mean so much to me if you would share it. Share it with someone you think would enjoy it and could get something out of it. And let's get the word out. If you think this is something that is valuable, and we have so much negative going on in the world, so let's share some positive. All right. So as I always say, know that God loves you, know that I love you, and you have